Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic on Non-Classic. This is episode number 3450. Doubleshot number 3344. I have two X-Men trades, and they're fairly recent trades. The other one, basically, there's still one more trade left to review for that one until wait for the next to come out. But first we have is X-Men by MacKay Volume 3, Hellfire Vigil. This collects issues 19 and 22 of X-Men Volume 7, along with the Hellfire Vigil one-shot. Now, issue 19, which is the first issue of this book, which is interesting. It's a very interesting book. By the way, MacKay does the writing here, of course, obviously, with main issues, except Hellfire Vigil. He doesn't write that one. Actually, he's one of the writers for that one. Yes. One of many writers for this Hellfire Vigil one-shot. So, the main issues for the main issues of X-Men, this is issues 1922, which 22 was also what they've been the last issue released for a event, which I'll get to as soon as I finish up this one. The artwork for issues 1921 is Nishio Diaz and artwork by Kyle Filla. And here are your writers: Jack Salazing, Colin Kelly, Javier Guerin, Jed MacKay, Neka Diaz, who is one of the artists, Sean Pearson, Stephanie Phillips, Jeffrey Thorne, Gail Simone, Eve Ewing, Alex Penko, Jason Lowe, Mira Edwalk, and the other people are Sean Pearson, Ron Menigo, Marcus Tu, Lega Benito, Federica Machen, Duncan Subby, and Sabertelli. Oh, maybe something for me to sign for her. So, main issues. 19 is a follow-up to X-Men Heir to Apocalypse miniseries. It features the return of Doug Ramsey, his wife Belle, and Warlock. Yes, so we have basically how, kind of the flashback of how Doug Ramsey, the process became, where he basically became, well, the heir to Apocalypse. And we see where he's very muscular. He's got marks on him because he's now the heir to Apocalypse. Oh, behold my heir, behold revolution. Yeah, that's his code name. And then we see his beautiful wife, Belle, which she's in bed with him because of course she is, because she's the wife. Also, I'm assuming, based on the fact they're both butt naked, I am assuming these two must have had sex the previous night. Yep. And talk about hair, and because of the fact he made a bad joke, she threw him out the window, and Warlock's like, self-friend doing this? Yeah, my wife threw me out the window. And then, of course, basically says, Chloe's a husband. We have work to do. I don't have to remember that one. Yep. And then we have a parody. Yes, a parody of the popular shirt for James for Lovers, where his shirt says, Coca-Cola for Lovers. Yep. Or they just sit down, have a meal, which is interesting having Warlock basically do this. Oh, in case you're probably wondering, has this Warlock met Adam Warlock? The answer is no. They have never met. Not to my knowledge, no. The one thing that Warlock and Doug Ramsey have in common, they're both creations of the awesome Chris Claremont. And they're longtime mainstays in the X-Men comics. Belle is a creation of Jonathan Hickman, who debuted in the Swords of X crossover, and they got married based upon a challenge. And of course, basically, she's close to Apocalypse. And and of course, basically, Belle's like very happy for him being the heir to Apocalypse because he's like, yeah, I'm married to heir to Apocalypse because I can basically do what the heck I want. And then, of course, we have soldiers show up. Yep, soldiers show up at his house. And then, of course, Warlock basically helps out too. And is like, who are you? Office Nationality. It's like, bull. One doesn't have kill spokes. No, we don't. So, this guy, I'm not going to realize, he's part of a new organization known as Zero. Let me guess. The number of good muties. And then he proceeds to have his gun pointed at his head, and Belle proceeds to kill him. He's like, I wasn't in danger, Belle. I wasn't in danger. And then apparently it's like, you don't have to kill him. Yes, I did. I understand you're not angry, beloved. I understand the violence is natural to you, but this is great work upon. It's like, you must be angry, beloved, because wherever you are, you can remember that I can't understand your sonic speech. And then she pulls his shirt and makes out with him. I'm like, yes, makes out with a man covered in blood. And I'm like, well, at least she's not doing this butt naked, because that's what Tom King wrote a big bard after she killed some members of New Genesis. It's like, yeah, she's butt naked, covered in blood, and what did she want to do? Have sex with her husband. You can never, I can't understand your speech. Yep. So then they proceed to burn down the house, and Belle puts on her outfit that she wore from the Cocoa era. And then we will see him again for the next few issues. Now, 20, no, actually not 20, next comes the Hellfire Vigil one-shot. Now, by the way, before I continue here, when it was announced that Revolution was coming back here, I saw chatter that, why is he coming back for? Well, we later found out it was because of the event known as Age of Evolution. Yep, that's the only reason why that Jen MacKay had to bring it back here. As the Vigil one-shot, this probably see more backlash for this particular one-shot coming out, because all people are like, why are we doing this? Why are we bringing back Hellfire Vigil? The Hellfire Gail stuff. So basically, it's all about Mary Krakoa. And I do appreciate the artwork. They bring pretty much everything here, including freaking Deadpool. Yes. Because everyone remembers the fall of Krakoa. And we have Miles here, which is interesting. I guess he was invited. And everyone wants to have a party. And Scott's like, nope, not interested. Because, of course, they lost Krakoa. And you have Kanan. This is Kanan, not Bitsy, so I make it look like, oh, that's Bitsy. No, that's Kanan. Yes, this was something that, during the whole thing of Krakoa, they brought Kanan's body back, but they put her soul back in the body and gave Bitsy back her actual body. And so Scott decides to have to go. Then Jean's in space, comes back to Earth briefly, just spend time with Scott, and then we briefly see Dazzler, and they reference a recent miniseries, which was not very good. Yes, you're like, why would you remember it's a bad miniseries? Remember Jason? We're in the miniseries, and I saw this in the first issue. It was very heavily implied the writer was going to out Dazzler as a lesbian. Yes, there was lesbian overtones in it. I'm like, why? And then we have Beast hook up with this Angel Wings girl, and I'm like, did Marvel writers forget the fact that he already has a girlfriend named Abigail Brand? Because it just seems as though that relationship has been completely forgotten. At one point I heard that she was pregnant with his kids, and then that was dropped. Like, did she lose the kids when the headquarters for Sword crashed on Earth? Who the heck freaking knows, because they don't bring it up anymore. It's like, did they break up? Who knows? It's just, yeah, I get the fact this is not the main Beast Stanley Jack Kirby created. This is the clone. Yeah, this is a Krakoa era clone it's a clone of Beast, but he has memories of when he was part of New Defenders. At that far back. And I think he does remember the legacy virus, but he had to be debriefed about this. And by the way, this Beast here is a creation of Ben Percy to explain away the whole thing of Beast becoming evil. Yes. And of course that Beast died. And then we have where I think it's somebody here. I think it's supposed to be Colossus. Yeah, he's not doing it very much nowadays. Yeah, he's one of those characters that kind of wants to do something. And then we see him meet with his beautiful sister, which of course basically then we have where we have we have the Alaska X meet up with the Louisiana X-Men, which is interesting. So, and then we have Temper. She was actually one of the believe it or not, she's actually a creation of Karen Gillian, believe it or not. Yes. She has been a character, very important character in the last decade. Yeah, Marvel, right? I guess some X-Men really love this character, so they keep using her a lot. At one point, she was called Heidi, and then she was called, Temper now. Like, she was even a character in the all-new X-Men book by, I think it was Colin Bunn wrote the book. Actually, it was Dennis Opus. He did a great job writing her. I mean, I love all the development she's had over the years, and I love the fact also they keep her straight. Yes, she was one of those characters who was part of the Five Lights, basically the Generation Hope book, and then I'm glad she's still around. She's only been around for, oh my gosh, like she's been around for since like 2007, I think it is. No, 2010. She's around this point for 16 years, and she's still being used, which is awesome. Yeah. I probably should do a comic history video. I did talk about recently a comic history video about characters who forgot. I should probably do a list of characters who popped up in the last 20 years, which Marvel creators do nothing with at all. And a lot of dancing, and then where hugging with various people, and then Emma Frost basically lives. And then for some weird reason we have Banshee, who looks like he's Wolverine here with this beard of his. And he's talking to Teresa, his daughter, who has a collar on. Yes. And she's wearing a Banshee costume. Yes. And then, of course, you have Multiple Man and Strong Guy appear here, because of course they do. Yeah. And then, of course, Storm had a flashback where she did a pregnancy test and it came up negative. Because that's the interesting thing about Storm, is that it's never been brought up before. It seemed like with this, it's almost like she's always... Now, I think the scene here with Storm must have been by the woman who writes her ongoing series. It's like she's always wanted to have kids, but it just hasn't happened yet. And no, I don't think it's our editors. I think some people really... you could say it's maybe our editors. And we have Jean show up to say hi to Scott, then make out. And really nice book. And then 20 is basically this. So then we have Return of Lavacat. Yeah, the ages popped up like twice prior to this way. Last appeared back in issue 10. Where basically Scott basically still had one facilities. So him and Scott Summers proceed to have a fist fight in a diner. Yeah, having this stuff on with I mentioned the whole thing with the Vigil, 3K, all this other stuff, and of course the police chief wrestling, of course. Oh yeah, boyfriend, Tempest's boyfriend, which is cool. And it seems like Beast is getting a girl, which I think is really cool. This girl, it seems as though that maybe she wants to be with him, but hasn't happened yet. I don't think he has a problem with her mutation per se. I mean, he's immune himself. Yeah, and then Glob. Yeah, Glob, remember him? A guy who does show up. You see, at one point, it looks like he's briefly talking to Taskmaster of all people. Yes, Taskmaster. And they fight for a long while. And then, of course, basically, she arrests them. Scott is released. Aston is not, basically, he also brings up, he did say, he doesn't hate mutants per se, because the guy in charge of one is a mutant. Who this is, they're actually going to reveal this really soon in this series. Yes, it's sort of a Danger Room. So then you have Quintire, another character who's been active. Yeah, and like they found the upstarts. And then of course you see Fitzroy, and we see the frickin' Sugar Man. Yes, a character who in universe people do not want to talk about him because he's ugly. And he's the only character in this book who's technically not from 616. He is from an alternate timeline, the Age of Apocalypse universe. And then the X-Men appear here is the new character, I can't remember her name, with Juggernaut, Magic, and Quentin Quintire. They arrest Fitzroy. And, well, they stop them, and then we have our Sugar Man's off someplace, and he goes to this castle known as the Spire Vell, at a place called Carol. Probably, I think that's the island which merged with Crow. So then, of course, issue 22 is that, well, Scott's released. Magic was going to break him out anyways, but nope, he's perfectly fine. And then Psylocke is probably back here, probably just after wrap up her solo book. And everybody basically is on plans. Everything is all hunky-dory. There's a conversation between Juggernaut and Beast. These two have a long history with each other, probably as far back as when he debuted back in the 60s. So I like the fact, basically, that MacKay has these two have interaction because, well, why not? Because they've known each other for so long. So, and then, of course, basically McNeil. And then Doug Ramsey shows up with his wife and Warlock, which, of course, they offer to join his team, and he accepts. And somehow this leads into the Age of Evolution crossover. Yep, the ending of this leads into that story, which is going to be interesting to discuss whenever the trade comes out for that one. But I actually enjoyed this book. This book was really good. The roughly book give it roughly a 9 out of 10. The book was really good. And 22 came out back in December. And since then, since books come return, they have released 2 issues. I haven't read them yet, but I'm going to read those after I read Age of Evolution. Next up we have is Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, Dark Artery. This collects issues 9 through 16 of Uncanny X-Men. I think this is Volume 6 of the book. Yes, 6. Written by Gail, Simone. Artwork here by 4 different artists. Andrea Best is 9 and 10. 11 is done by Javier Garin. 12 is Gavin Gardner. And Dan Marquez issue 13-16 with Leonardo Benicio in issue 16. So, basically issue 9. This is mostly the aftermath of the Age of X stuff. Now, there's one issue I'm going to skip over in here, and that's issue 11 because that's a X-Men Hunted story, so we're skipping over that one. So, basically issue 9, it's the aftermath of the Raid and Gail looking crossover, which was really good. And we have some backstory of dancing here. That's kind of what happens here throughout this story. And one person gets killed by these hellhounds. And then issue 10, it's called Off the Leash. It's all about Nightcrawler, and it's very interesting what it is. Then we have Elsewhere, Rogue and Gambit basically just hang on a date. And then we're leading to the X-Men Hunted story. We have this arm pop out of nowhere. Yeah, next issue has nothing to do with that because it's part of the X-Men Hunted story. Which I have no idea why in the world Marvel decided to include this in here, but they did. It was just odd that they decided to it just seems kind of odd. Like, the Ray Graham looking, they actually skip the stuff from that one, but not in the case of, so, let's see if I can find it here. So we went to issue 12, which has what looks like that Rogue Gambit basically are, well, together anyways, that, well, like something's going on. Of course, they go back to the house, which of course we're staying at. Rogue is going to have a shirt on. Of course, Gambit basically has abs out, because of course he does. Basically, the stuff going on between, well, nothing going on between basically like her and Gambit. It's like all about blisters and training, which is fine. And we have this crocodile guy here who just does stuff of this book. They talk to Mira New Orleans. Yeah, she's basically the main supporting character of this book. main recurring character, and then we have lead Dr. Artery, which takes up pretty much the next 4 issues of the book. So after Rogue, yeah, basically they're in bed. And then we mentioned Storm. For some reason, we mentioned the Storm book, because why not? And then we mentioned issue 12, which is the previous issue. And then, of course, we have all this fire stuff. Dude, all these dragons. I love the artwork here. It's so good. And then, of course, our character's Darkness meets up with frickin' Man-Thing. And he says, whoever knows fear burns the touch of Man-Thing. Yep, that's the famous catchphrase of, that's the famous tagline comes Man-Thing. And yeah, Man-Thing appears in X-Men. To my knowledge, he's never interacted with the X-Men very much over the years. If you think about it, aside from maybe Howard the Duck, the only character he interacted with the most is probably Spider-Man. And the Thing, and that's been it for him. Did you at one point they briefly have him talk? Yes. Then he lost the ability for some reason. So, yeah, he's here to deal with these dragon creatures. Wolverine, who is not really playing a role in these issues, now is. And then we have this woman named Lady Hero, who reminds me a lot of that tall woman from Resident Evil 8. The Resident Evil Village. The Village that was 8. So, yeah. So it's like, everyone's got these outfits now, and really cool stuff here. And then it's like a little supernatural stuff in here, which is kind of interesting. And there's something interesting, of course, Man-Thing is here, obviously. And they do fight these creatures. Seems like I'm in a fantasy, but it's nice to have Man-Thing here. And then it goes off, and then next is Manta's coming. Yeah, Jubilee's also part of the team as well, but she's barely done anything in the book right now. But it's overall really good. I kind of enjoyed this one. And there's one more trade left to go for this that's been released right now, and I'm pretty much caught up on Uncanny X-Men for trades-wise. Yep. Also, I have read the last... There was actually a couple issues I didn't read until just today, which was 2021. So now basically everything that came out before Age of Revolution has been read for this book. So hopefully... Now I think probably next trade probably is going to collect issue 17 and 21. Yeah, but we'll find out and see basically with when I get those. Because of course, according to my schedule, apparently after like tomorrow I have off Sunday, then I work 5 straight days. I won't have off again until like Saturday at the latest. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Next up is Emperors. Okay, next video. Bye.